Welcome to The Real Nitty Gritty, where baby boomers share stories, wisdom, and a few laughs along the way. Elle McLeod is your host, inviting you to join candid conversations that celebrate our journeys, lessons learned, and the timeless values that bind us. So be sure to like, subscribe, and share, and click the notification icon. Whether you're reminiscing about the good old days or navigating the present, this podcast is your space to connect, reflect, and enjoy the ride.
Hey, y'all, and welcome back to The Real Nitty Gritty, baby boomer conversations that matter. If you haven't done so, subscribe, like, and share. And don't forget to hit that notification button. Before we get started today, please get comfortable. Kick your shoes off, grab your favorite chair and beverage, and let's get to the real nitty gritty. Grief isn't only about sadness. Sometimes it's about secrets that grow but continue to be pushed under the rug. In part two of our Grief Unlocked, we're pulling back the curtain on something most avoid, the family secrets that make grief darker. Sibling wars, hidden affairs, surprise children, bitter fights over property, and ex-spouses stepping into the power. Intrigued? You should be. Let's start with siblings. Expected allies, yet grief can turn them into adversaries, whether it's blame over who's grieving right, anger over broken promises, or a competition for emotional attention. Sibling conflicts can erupt. Research shows grief reveals and intensifies long-standing resentments, old comparisons, and rivalries. I interviewed a woman who just buried her father. I could tell she is hurt beyond mourning her dad as she shared her story with me. Basically, she wanted to have a role in planning arrangements for her dad, but it didn't happen. One of her siblings took over and didn't include her or any of her suggestions for this service. The situation is a perfect example of sibling conflicts. Sibling grief doesn't just bring sorrow, it often drags dormant resentments into daylight. Those moments of blame over wrong grief or fury over forgotten promises, stemming from old rivalries and comparisons that grief simply magnifies. But here's the hopeful twist. Grief, when handled with intention, can also open a door for healing. And that's where we're headed. Open, honest conversation. It is encouraged that siblings pause the blame and speak from the heart. Establish a safe time and place, maybe a weekly walk or a quiet evening talk, where each sibling can say, I feel overlooked when, or I need more space too, without fear of judgment. Naming the tension cuts through the guilt. And sometimes simply saying it out loud, just saying what it is out loud, begins the healing process. Acknowledge without comparison. Every sibling grieves differently, and that's okay. Recognize that feeling stoic, tearful, angry, or numb doesn't make one better or worse at mourning. By acknowledging these differences, you feel rage, I feel silence, and both are valid. Siblings can ease the pressure to match each other's grief. Create shared routines. Yeah, why not? Why not co design a routine that honors the loved one? Planting a tree, creating a photo album, or lighting a candle on anniversaries. Research shows that shared remembrance routines offer emotional grounding and can reduce isolation and resentment. Lean on external support. Sometimes you can't navigate this alone, whether it's a grief therapist or a counselor or a support group. Bringing in an impartial listener can ease conflict pressure, help unpack silent resentments, and model healthier communication. I believe a total stranger to everyone involved is always best. Let's summarize sibling wars. These steps aren't just conflict resolution, they're invitations to rebuild trust, redefine connections, and face grief side by side. Turning sibling grief into an opportunity for closeness transforms painful rivalries into lasting bonds. And in that transformation lies the healing. Okay, you guys ready? Hidden affairs. Hidden affairs and surprise children. Then there are the secrets that break open when someone dies: infidelity, secret money, or an undisclosed child. Imagine mourning. Imagine mourning your spouse only to discover they had another family. This earth shaking revelation isn't just betrayal, it redefines your grief, your history, even your identity. Resolution and insight when the unthinkable happens. Mourning your spouse only to uncover a secret life. You're not just grieving their death, you're grieving the marriage you believed in, the future you thought you had, and the person you trusted. It's a grief layered with betrayal, confusion, and identity loss. And it needs compassionate, intentional care. Give voice to the betrayal first. Therapists and grief experts emphasize that you can't properly mourn the loss until you process the shock and the pain of the betrayal. It helps to process the infidelity before processing their death. The unresolved trauma can impede your ability to process your grief in a normal and healthy way. Give yourself permission to feel outrage, disbelief, guilt, even hate without shame. Name the betrayal out loud. Journal to it. Talk to a trusted friend or therapist. Only then can the grief itself be accessed and honored. Treat it as traumatic grief and seek expert support discovering hidden infidelity or a secret child can trigger trauma responses. Intrusive thoughts, identity crisis. Counselors trained in traumatic grief or cognitive processing therapy can help you unpack the layers and begin healing. You're not emotionally broken. You've been through something that nearly shattered your world. Embrace self-compassion and self-care. Those who walk this path say, be kind to yourself. You aren't alone. Try therapy. It's hard having a late spouse whom you love with everything who stabbed you in the back. Self-care daily routines, creative outlets, time in the nature, and anchors you when your inner world feels chaotic. Surround yourself, virtually or in person, with support. Bereavement groups, online communities, and online communities who get this dual loss. Forgiveness, not for them, but for you. A surprising lifeline. Forgiveness, not to excuse their actions, but to free yourself from the bind of anger and pain. Decide to forgive. This part of mourning is separate from ordinary grief. Without forgiveness, it's almost impossible to find closure. You might never fully forgive, but even releasing some bitterness can open a crack of hope for the future. Integrate your new story. Hold both realities. Yes, your spouse loved you, but they also led a double life. It doesn't erase all the good, but it can't be ignored either. Reconciliation with the past means acknowledge both the love you had and the betrayal you uncovered. According to Carly Pollock Therapy.com, this is betrayal, trauma, grief, a multifaceted wound that includes grieving the death of your marriage, the life you thought you had, and the trust you believed in. Let's summarize hidden affairs and surprise children. This journey isn't about speed, it's about death. It's okay if forgiveness takes years, if healing looks more like rebuilding than rebound, if sometimes the grief overtakes you again. You're living with a shifted identity, and that shift deserves patience, respect, and time. What about bitter fights over property and control struggles? Grief also ignites legal and emotional battles. Who gets the house? Who controls the estate? These disputes feel practical, but they're emotionally charged. Psychologists note that when grief exposes old favoritism or long-standing resentments, property fights risk irreparable familiar fractures. When grief turns into a fight over property, it's rarely just about the assets. It's the it's about old wounds resurfacing, family dynamics that feel re-litigated, and the fear that who you are in the family might get lost. But there is hope for resolution. Grounded, emotional, and relatable, especially for baby boomers who've watched families through the decades. Pause and restart the conversation before diving in again into who gets what. Hit the pause button. In a recent Times advice column, Julia Samuel urges families to pause the state decisions, gather together, and create a space to hear each other's feelings. Why it matters? Slowing down allows everyone to remember what's at stake, not just the house, but the bond that you've all carried since childhood. Bring in a neutral mediator. This is not about fault. It's about healing. Probate mediation offers a confidential and structured path to discuss grievances without accusations. A skilled mediator helps each sibling share their fears and hopes, surface emotional undercuts, find compromises that honor relationships, like swapping sentimental keepsakes or family heirlooms, or agreeing to sell the property and divide the proceeds equally. Why it helps? It keeps the focus on solutions, not scorched earth battles, on keeping siblings united, not defeated. Define shared values and goals. Refer back to what Julia Samuel calls imagining your future together, not as property owners, but as a family that endures. Decide as a group. Do we want to preserve the family home? Is that really what we want? Would everyone be glad if we sold it and split the proceeds equally? How do we honor memories and financial fairness? Defining these shared priorities steers emotion-driven decisions into purposeful direction. Set emotional boundaries and care for your heart. Inheritance discussions can crack open grief, anger, and guilt. For Mental Health Guide, a key survival tip is to set boundaries. A simple, let's table this until next week when emotions flare up. And to protect your well-being using self-care practices and professional support if grief turns overwhelming. Why it counts? Preserving your mental peace ensures you can engage constructively, not react destructively. Respect the executor, but don't cede connection.
Thank you for tuning in to The Real Nitty Gritty. If today's episode resonated with you, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with fellow boomers who appreciate a good story and meaningful conversation. Stay connected with us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Remember, every story adds a stitch to the rich tapestry of our generation. Until next time, keep sharing, keep laughing, and keep living the real nitty-gritty. Thank you for tuning in to The Real Nitty Gritty. If today's episode resonated with you, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with fellow boomers who appreciate a good story and meaningful conversation. Stay connected with us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Remember, every story adds a stitch to the rich tapestry of our generation. Until next time, keep sharing, keep laughing, and keep living the real nitty gritty.